Welcome back to Blacks in Motion. And like I said before the break, we're going to jump into a little bit of fantasy football. It's that time of year again. I'm so happy, elated, because finally we're going to get some football action. We have a few preseason games up under our belt already, and we are just chomping at the bit for this regular season to start so we can see some good old gridiron pigskin slanging football. Now I want to talk a little fantasy. I'm not going to talk about positions just yet. That'll come up in my fantasy preview special. But what I want to talk about as your fantasy draft is probably coming upon you is talking about strategy. You know, when I first started playing fantasy football years ago, some of the highly coveted players were running backs. Those guys were able to rack up points all the time. But now, because most teams are going to a running back by committee, and also the lifespan of a running back in the league is so short, even for the great running backs, you start to see a shift in how people build their teams. I suffered from this last year. I said, look, I'm going to keep a great running back. I'm going to draft another pretty good one. And then I let my wide receivers go by the wayside, and I struggled. I struggled for the whole first half of the season. Came on later on when my wide receivers and quarterback started to pick up their play. So that's the pointer that I'm going to give today. When building your team, do not neglect your quarterback and wide receiver positions. A little pinpoint I'll say is try to actually find a good quarterback and receiver tandem so you can rack up double on your points. But I'm going to tell you right now, the biggest point getters are going to be your quarterbacks, the likes of Peyton Manning and Drew Brees. You know, these guys are always going to be slinging that pigskin, and somebody's going to be catching it. So make sure you put together a good wide receiving core as well. Yards and touchdowns are important. Another pinpoint tip about that, also look at your tight end position as a great wide receiver option of picking up points and touchdowns, mainly touchdowns, because those guys are targeted within the red zone, 20 yards of the end zone. So that doesn't mean that you totally forget about your running backs. Just make sure you pick a guy in the later rounds that is serviceable. Maybe it's a complement, one running back that you do have that would be considered elite or above average. Last but not least, take into consideration your defense. Your defense can score you points. Guys, defenses that shut out other offenses and defenses that get a lot of interceptions, turnovers that translate into defensive touchdowns. So look, take that strategy right now before your draft, research it a little bit, come back, and go ahead and put together your great fantasy football team, because Cliff will. I don't know about you, but I'm going to do a better job this year. But hey, maybe you think that running backs are still on top for fantasy. Maybe you think Tony Stewart did what he did intentionally and should serve a very severe punishment. Either way, let me know. Hit me up in my email, cliff@blackvideonews.com. And as always, stay logged on and love us right here at Blacks in Motion.